All right, welcome to How to Feel Different Day to Day, or How to Feel Different in Your Life. My name is Cecilia. I am a coach. I use mindset or cognitive science and mindfulness to help you feel different day to day in your life. And today we're going to talk all about feelings. So, most of us feel certain ways during our day. That might be stressed, that might be anxious, it might be frustrated, it might be despondent. It could be many different things, and we want to feel different in our lives. And so, if you want to feel different in your life, you're in the right place. And so, today, what we're going to talk about is sort of why you might be here, why you might want to feel different in your life. We're going to talk a little bit about what feelings actually are, why we feel the way we feel, why it's important to know about your feelings and how to even process them. And then we're going to talk about how to feel on purpose. So, how to feel different on purpose. So, for instance, if you feel really anxious in your life, or you feel really stressed in your life and you'd like to feel less stressed, you'd like to feel less anxious, maybe you'd like to feel less rushed, maybe you'd like to feel, I don't know. I'm going to ask you how you want to feel. That is exactly what we're going to talk about. Okay, so again, I'm Cecilia. I am a life coach, and I use mindset or cognitive science tools and mindfulness, which works on nervous system regulation, processing feelings, to help people make change in their lives, to help people feel differently in their lives, and also talk a little bit about how to work with me. I work with folks one-on-one, and I also have a group starting soon. So if you stick around and you love this and you want to do this work, make sure that you follow along, make sure that you send me a message, and get in touch to work together. Okay, so how to feel different in your life. So why you might be here, why you might be sticking around is you want to feel different in your life. So what I want you to do right now is to think about why you're here. I want you to think about how you feel in your life day to day. So, what are the predominant feelings that you feel each day? And you can drop them in the chat, or you can just think them. You can write them on a piece of paper if you'd like to. But so let me know the feelings that you feel most frequently. So, what are the predominant feelings in your life day to day? Again, that could be stressed, it could be frustrated, it could be amazing, right? It could be joyous and excited, it could be really grateful. So let me know what you feel during your day, and how you'd, so start there. So maybe the top three emotions that you feel. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm in two different places right now. So I have a webinar going, and I have the live going on TikTok. So I'm going to start sharing some of the answers that came in on the webinar. And those look like, so there's anxious, overwhelmed, stressed. Somebody said angry. So those are some of the emotions that are coming in there. If you're in the TikTok and you want to play along, let me know some of the emotions that you feel day to day. So the predominant emotions that you feel that you'd rather not feel, or the emotions that are part of your life that you'd like to change. Okay. So, do I have credentials in cognitive science? So I have a degree in counseling. And then part of my undergrad, I did a bunch of psychology work as well. I graduated with a degree in geology. But so I have that. And then I'm also a certified coach. So I am not a cognitive science per se. But I also do yoga. Yep, I'm a trained yoga therapist. And so I combine those two tools to support people. So I do a lot of nervous system regulation work, and then a lot of kind of mindset work. So understanding the thoughts that you're having in your life and how they are how they're impacting you. Okay, I've always wanted to do geology. Geology is a super interesting job. It wasn't where I should have been, but it was a wonderful 10 years. Okay, Kristen says, or Kirsten, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, says overwhelmed and mismanaged. I like that. I don't want another boss at work, not like personal. Okay. So overwhelmed, mismanaged. So hopefully by now you have some emotions written down of how you feel in your life. Um, and then I want you to ask yourself, how do you want to feel in your life? So how do you want to feel different? So for instance, um, uh, Kirsten, if you feel overwhelmed and mismanaged, how do you want to feel day to day? And so the folks who feel angry or frustrated or overwhelmed or anxious, how do you want to feel in your life? What do you want it to look like? Most of the time, people want to feel things like peaceful, they want to feel content, they want to feel unflappable is one that comes to me a lot. They want to feel unstuck. So getting really curious about how Kirstine, maybe I said that right. Let me know if I said it right. um, I had two friends growing up. One was Kirsten and one was Kirstine. So they were, it was like, I remember having to like implant that in my memory, but I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Okay. So thinking about how you want to feel is really impactful. So knowing where you're going with this work. Okay, so we've started with how do you feel? And then we're going to how do you want to feel? So those are important. And that's probably why you're here, why you're sticking around, because how you feel in your day-to-day life, you would like to feel differently, right? You want to feel less stuck, you want to feel less anxious, you want to feel less stressed, you want to feel happier, more content, more satisfied, all those things. Now let's talk about what feelings are. So feelings are, you can kind of take a guess if you think you know what feelings are, but oftentimes we we don't really have a great sense of them. So feelings, at least I'm going to take it from my perspective, right? Feelings are there's something that starts with a thought and it causes a vibration or experience in your body. There are also other things like bodily sensations. And the one that people are sometimes most familiar with are hunger. And that starts kind of in your body. And it's a signal that your body is sending to your brain that things need to change, right? But what the emotions that we're talking about, the feelings, are things that start in your brain and they go down to your body. And that's something that people haven't normally thought about. So I'm going to explain it a little bit. So most of the times we think feelings are caused by something that happens out in the world. So for instance, I live in Maine and it's actually pretty warm now, but last week it was actually quite cold for June. And so if it started snowing, which wasn't quite that cold, but it was in the 40s Fahrenheit at night, I might feel despondent or I might feel sad. And I could say it's being caused by the snow. But really, what's happening is I'm having a thought about the snow and then I'm feeling the way I feel. And so the feelings that you feel in your body, this could be shame, this could be disorganized, this could be stressed and anxious. It's coming from thoughts you have. And I want to have like a quick side note. There is a brain chemistry component, right? So we all have different brain chemistries, and sometimes brain chemistry plays a big role in how you feel. So, for instance, somebody who has diagnosed anxiety has a brain chemistry component of anxiety, and then there's a thought component of anxiety. I am not talking about the brain chemistry one. I am not saying that we can solve that with thoughts. Um, that is a totally separate one. But even if somebody has diagnosed anxiety, there's a brain component, a thought component of anxiety. And that's what we're talking about here. Okay. Organize is how I want to feel. Pirate. I like that. Okay. So understanding again how you want to feel and then understanding where feelings are coming from. So the feelings that you have are coming by what you think. So for instance, if you feel overwhelmed, you might, when you look at your to-do list, you might think my to-do list is causing me to feel overwhelmed, but really you're having a thought and the thought might be, there's no way I'm going to get all of this done. And then you start to feel overwhelmed. You might feel shame when somebody tells you that you messed up on the paper that you turned in, right? And you think it's them causing you to feel shame, but really you're having a thought, I should have done this differently. I should have showed up differently, and then I wouldn't feel the way I feel. So this is not as a gaslighting bypassing experience or to put everything on yourself, but it's to understand the role that you have and how you're feeling, which at first can feel kind of harsh, but then can feel really empowering because then you start to notice that you can feel different in your day and in your life. Okay, so we've talked about feelings. So there's sensations that are happening in your body and they come from your brain. The other thing I want to talk about with sensations in your body is that I'm not going to say 100%, but you are capable of feeling the sensations that come up in your body related to emotions. They might not be comfortable sensations, but you are able to feel them. You are able to process them in a bodily way. And in fact, you do need to process them in a bodily way if you want to feel different. So one of the most powerful things when you're changing how you feel every day, so day to day, is getting really curious about how you feel right now. So becoming aware, bringing an intention, so creating an intention to bring awareness to how you feel in the present moment. And if you can start to become aware of how you feel, so for instance, how disorganized feels in your body, then you can start to change it. So first you process it and then you change it. Okay, so you might now you know how you feel most days, or you're getting more curious about it and how you like to feel. And we know that feelings are sensations in our body created by thoughts that we have. So you think something, I hate snow, and then I feel frustrated that it's snowing on June 7th, right? I know it's June 15th, but this was last week when it was colder, or June 15th where I am anyway. Okay, so how we feel in our body. So I feel stressed because I say there's so much that needs to get done right now, or I'm afraid I'm going to mess up, and then I feel overwhelmed, or everybody hates me, and then I feel sad and I want to maybe depressed and I feel really small. So the reason why you feel that way is, again, you're having thoughts about it, which is, again, really important to kind of bring your attention to and understand what thoughts are coming up and that are causing the feelings. And then now we want to talk about, what do you do with hard feelings? So what most of us do with hard feelings, because most of us weren't taught to, let me back up a second. So feelings matter because they drive your actions. So if you think about it, if you feel overwhelmed, when you look at your to-do list and you have a thought that causes overwhelm, you probably have what I like to call chihuahua energy. You run around, you touch a lot of things, but you don't actually get much done. If instead you look at your to-do list and you feel confident and you feel empowered to tackle as much as you can, you probably have really focused work. So you feel focused, you feel committed, you feel courageous, maybe even, and then you take different action. So the way you feel matters so much because it drives everything you do in your life. When people feel stressed, they oftentimes take action that causes them to feel more stressed. So we kind of get into these feedback loops. And so understanding how you feel and understanding how you want to feel and processing feelings is so key, because it allows you to start making change in your life. Okay, and then what do people mostly do? Let's talk about processing now, right? So processing hard emotions, or processing emotions in general, is really important because it allows you to move forward from them. What most of us were taught to do, and this is societal, I think largely, is that our big emotions were hard, they're scary, we should resist them, we should avoid them, we should react to them. And that's oftentimes what we do. So we resist them by procrastinating or by buffering. We avoid them by pushing them down, pretending they're not there. We react to them by saying something maybe we don't want to say, or going off and buying something, right? So we're in this space where we don't actually feel the feelings that come up, but we resist them, we react to them, we avoid them. A different way to handle this, to work with it, is to notice the emotion. So maybe shame or disorganized or stressed, overwhelmed, and start to get curious about it. So how you might do that is you might say, I'm feeling a feeling right now. And I'm going to go with overwhelmed while looking at your to-do list, right? So you look at your to-do list, you say, there's no way I'm going to get all of this done, or I know I'm going to mess this up, and you feel overwhelmed. You can take a breath, you can pause in that moment. And this is bringing in the mindfulness component. And you ask, what does this emotion feel like? Where does it live in my body? So you can start with one of those first. So you might say, overwhelm feels like, and this is going to feel different for everyone, which is why it's important you do it for yourself. You say, it feels like a tightness in my chest, or it feels like an emptiness in my belly, or it feels like stress across the back of my shoulders, or it feels like a tightness in my jaw. So overwhelm lives in one of these areas of my body, right? And so you can go to that area and you can start to describe it. Or first, you might say, it's safe to feel this emotion. It's safe to feel this bodily sensation. And then get to know it. So if you're familiar with Rumi's Guest House poem, which lots of people like to throw out there, then you welcome it in, right? You welcome this emotion in instead of resisting it, reacting, or avoiding it. You welcome it into your body and you say, okay, what would it look like to get to know this emotion? What would it look like to get to know overwhelm? You do maybe exactly what I just described. So you say, it lives in my chest, and then you start to describe it. Overwhelm feels like a tightness in my chest, and it's hard to take a deep breath, right? Or stress feels like a tightness over my shoulders, and it feels like I don't have my full capacity as a person. So, describing the emotion allows your body to start processing it in a physical way, which is why you like how you actually need to process emotions, right? Help them move through you. While you're doing this, it's especially effective to take slow breaths. Why it's effective to take slow breaths is that engages your parasympathetic nervous system. Your parasympathetic nervous system is rest, digest, create, connect. That's the opposite of the fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And so when you engage that intentionally by breathing slowly into your belly, you're telling your body, you're telling your brain, we're safe right now. It's okay to feel this feeling. You can feel it and let it go. And you might even say that I'm welcoming overwhelm in and I'm okay with letting it go. And you breathe there. So, this is how to process an emotion. And I know that we're getting to how you want to feel different day to day, but these are really key components, right? So, understanding what feeling is actually there. And if you can't name it, that's okay if you don't have a specific name for it, but you can start to ask yourself, what is this emotion? If you have a feelings wheel, and there are so many beautiful ones out there, you can Google them or go to Etsy and search feelings wheels, and you can see some very beautiful ones that give you all kinds of emotions. You could read Brené Brown's book, Atlas of the Heart, which is really like an emotional literacy guidebook to understand different emotions. Or you could just start by saying, what is the somatic feeling of this emotion? Where does stress live in my body? What are the qualities that it has? What does shame feel like? If I stop resisting shame and pushing it away, could I get to know it? Could I understand where it lives? Could I understand what its qualities are? Could I get to know it and process it on some level? And if you do that, then that emotion can kind of move through. And this is a key part of feeling different in your day, because if you just push shame or overwhelm down, or you push it away, or you start to, you avoid it in some way, or you react to it, it's very hard to actually change your emotional state because your body hasn't processed it and it starts to accumulate in your body, right? If you've read The Body Keeps the Score, or what happened to you, those are books that kind of talk about the somatic holding of unprocessed emotions. So we want to process them. We want to also tell ourselves that it's safe to feel any feeling that comes up, to feel any bodily sensation that shows up, that it's okay to process them, that so it's okay to process them, it's okay to feel them. Okay. Sapolsky. So the books are that I just mentioned are The Body Keeps the Score, which is Vanderkok, it's Bessel, and What Happened to You, which is Oprah, and I'm forgetting his name, but let me look it up. What Happened to You? It's a book on conversations on trauma, resilience, and healing. It's a really interesting book. It's Bruce Perry is the author of that one. So those are two really amazing resources that talk about somatic processing and holding of emotions. But you don't need to know that, right? You just need to start actually recognizing what emotions do come in and breathe with them. Again, without going into too much detail, the vagus nerve innervates your torso. So it controls digestion, heart rate, breathing, things like that. And one way we can really powerfully impact our nervous system is by breathing slowly. And when you breathe slowly, you're sending a message from your body through the vagus nerve back up to your brain. So this is a two-way nerve. And it's saying, I'm safe. It's saying it's okay to feel this feeling. And it's so powerful to say it actually out loud to yourself. So when you notice, you look at your schedule, at your to-do list, and you feel overwhelmed, you can feel it coming into your body. You can feel the urge to go do things very quickly. Pausing in that moment, saying it's safe to feel overwhelmed. It's okay that I feel this. You can take the breath, take slow breaths, and then you can start to get to know the emotion. And I feel like one of my superpowers, and a superpower that a lot of people can have if they want it, is feeling feelings, right? Because if you're willing to feel any feeling, you can really do almost everything that you want to do in the world. Feelings are why we do things and why we don't do things. So we're either trying to create a feeling or avoid a feeling at almost all times in our life, right? We're trying to create feelings of happiness, contentment, success, accomplishment, joy, whatever it is that you're searching for. And we're trying to avoid emotions like shame, guilt, sometimes also accomplishment, being seen. We're trying to avoid rejection. We're trying to avoid fear. We're trying to avoid overwhelm and stress. We don't want to feel them, so we do things. And then we want to feel other ways, so we do other things. What happens when you say that you're going to process your emotions is you take the slow breath and you let the emotion go through you. And suddenly you are then not in this constant circling of trying to avoid all the hard emotions. You say, it's okay. Shame comes up. It's safe to feel nervous. Yes, exactly. It is totally safe to feel nervous is like it's so powerful, right? When you feel it, as a quick like detour, often panic attacks come from avoiding anxiety rather than welcoming it in. So we feel something come and we push against it, right? We resist it. I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to happen. And again, what's happening in your nervous system when you resist it is you're putting your nervous system more into the sympathetic side, more into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. It makes things harder to process. It makes it harder to change or feel differently. The opposite is taking that breath, bringing yourself into parasympathetic response, bringing more regulation, more resilience, breathing, reminding yourself it's safe to feel this right now. It is not dangerous for me to feel nervous. It is okay that I feel this way. It doesn't mean anything bad about me. It's safe to feel nervous. And then get to know nervousness, welcome it in, right? Where does it live in my body? What does it feel like? What would it feel like to just watch the waves of nervousness come, breathe through them, and then act anyway if you want to, right? So, for instance, you could feel nervous if you were doing a live like this, right? You could feel nervous about posting something on social media or asking your boss for a raise or talking to that person that you think is a really cool person and you'd love to be their friend, or calling the people to be like a member of the band or play Dungeons and Dragons or whatever it is, right? You could feel nervous in that moment. You can feel the nervousness. And now we're getting to the place of feeling differently in your day, taking yourself to the other side, taking yourself to a different place by working with your brain. Okay, so what have we done? We identified the emotions. I told you who I was. Hi, I'm Cecilia. If you just joined, I'm a life coach and I work with mindfulness and mindset, so the cognitive science side of things, to help people create change in their life, really from a place of ease, from a place of working with their body and their nervous system. Somebody said on a video recently that I was like trauma-informed James Clear. And I love that. I think it's like so like pretty spot on. um, so I told you who I was, and then we talked about why we're here, right? Which is to look at the feelings we feel every day and try and feel differently within our day. And we looked at the feelings that you feel most of the time, and then how you want to feel in your day. So for instance, you might feel overwhelmed and disorganized, and you want to feel more organized. And then we talked about what feelings are. So there's sensations in your body that are created by thoughts that you're having in your brain. And they're not, the result of something that's happening externally. They're actually a thought you have that creates the feeling. We talked about what people normally do with hard emotions, right? So we resist them, we reject them, we react to them, we avoid them. And then how to do that differently, right? So to actually process the emotion so you can feel differently day to day. And then, so that's what to do with hard feelings, and then how to feel differently on purpose. So this is maybe why you're actually here. So how to feel differently is, so once you've taken the slow breaths, and what else happens when you bring your parasympathetic nervous system online is your cognitive function actually comes back online. So when you're in sympathetic response, usually your brain, the thinking part of your brain, the higher level thinking part of your brain is not doing a lot. So it's kind of at its lowest level, which is exactly what it's supposed to do, right? Your brain is doing what it's supposed to do. It brings the part of your brain online that keeps you alive, and it takes away the thinking part, because if you need to be alive, we don't really need to be doing critical thinking in that moment. We just want to be alive. But what you're telling yourself is calling the person to talk about the job is not a life or death situation, which is how your brain is interpreting it. So taking some slow breaths, telling yourself it's safe to feel nervous, processing the feelings of nervousness, and then telling yourself it's safe. And then you might want to feel, if you're calling somebody about a job, or we're going back to our to-do list example, you might want to feel, and I'm going to bring up a feelings wheel so I can look through some of them. You might want to feel brave, right? You might want to feel empowered. You might want to feel maybe confident. So let's go with those. So brave, empowered, and confident are maybe the ways you want to feel if you're thinking about the job. Maybe if you're thinking about the to-do list, confident could be one in there too, right? But maybe you want to feel empowered there. You maybe want to feel like you can get things done, right? So I don't know, you're a go-getter. I don't know if that's actually a feeling, probably not, but you want to feel in that confident space. So when you want to feel that way, what you can do is you can ask yourself in the moment. So you've just processed the shame or the nervousness or the overwhelm. And then you can ask yourself, how would I like to feel? Well, I'd like to feel 1% braver. I'd like to feel 2% more confident, right? Like we're starting with small amounts here, right? And so, what's a thought I could have that would help me get to that space? And this is thinking intentionally, right? So, you might think, it's safe for me to make the phone call, could be the thing that allows you to move into courage or bravery or empower, right? Or I'm doing something, I'm taking a positive step towards what I want in my life by making this phone call might help you feel empowered. Or I'm willing to feel rejected for the chance to get this job, right? Something like that. And it's working with your own brain to find the thoughts that create the feeling you want to feel. So with your to-do list, you might look at it and you might say, I know that I can get done what needs to get done. Because if you look through the list, maybe you have 10 things on it, but there may be 2 things that absolutely need to get done, which is another interrogation live that we can do at another point. But when you get really curious there, or when you start to bring your cognitive brain back online and ask what's true about this to-do list, and you say, I want to feel confident, or I want to feel maybe committed to getting this done or resolved to getting it done, what thoughts could come up? Well, I know I can get a lot of things done over the next hour. Or you could also go into curiosity and say, I wonder what I can get done on this to-do list over the next 20 minutes, right? There are a couple things on here that I know that I can check off quickly. Um, let's see how much I can get done within the next 20 minutes, within the next song, whatever it is. So that's how you start to work with your brain, or what to do to get yourself to a different emotional space. And what happens when you do this over time, when you start to say, for instance, if you worry a lot, if you're in anxiousness a lot, and you start to notice the thought that's causing anxiety, and you start to switch those, you're making different neural pathways and you're changing how your brain habitually thinks. So you're changing your brain from going down this one pathway over and over again, which maybe is look at your to-do list. The immediate thought is, I'm never going to get all this done. And then you feel overwhelmed. Maybe that's just like a path your brain goes. You can practice looking at your to-do list and saying, I can get lots of things done today, or I have this much time and enter a specific amount of time to get these things done. Or I know that I always get what needs to get done. Or I know that I don't know, I know that I show up in a powerful way when things need to happen. So figuring out what the thought is for you. And this is where a lot of people think it's going into affirmation territory. And while it is close to affirmations, we want to make sure that it's an affirmation that creates a emotional change or a sensation change in your body. And that's how you know it's a good one. And so oftentimes the first affirmations that you work with are not super fun, or like they're not the ones you want to put on the coffee mug, right? I kind of joke that I should have like a coffee mug or throw pillow company with all of these. So the one sometimes I like to use, if somebody's trying to work on body positivity, they might look in the mirror and say, I have the world's worst legs, like the ugliest legs in the world. To stand in the mirror and say, I have the world's most beautiful legs, is maybe too far of a stretch. Maybe it doesn't actually create an emotional shift in their body. But if you say things like, I have human legs, that's a truth that they already agree with. Like yeah, I have human legs, right? Or I have a human body. That might create an emotional shift within them that is the one that we want to start to go to. So we're starting to look for thoughts that change your emotional state towards where you want to go. So that's why I said 1% more confident or 2% more empowered, right? With the to-do list, again, you might look at it and ask, like, what needs to get done today? What really needs to get done? So you prioritize it. Or what are my priorities when I look at this list? And then when I ask myself, how much time do I have? Do I think that I can do these three things within that amount of time? Oftentimes it just changes, right? We can get committed, we can feel differently because we're getting more curious, we're bringing more questions in, we're kind of questioning our brain when it throws up the like, you don't have enough time, or you're never going to get this done, or like, you always mess things up, all those kind of um, the truths that our brain throws at us that are not actually true, but are just kind of practice thoughts we have. So to feel differently, what you're doing is you're becoming aware of how you feel right now, and what thoughts cause that feeling. Those are really powerful. Um, then you're processing the feeling that you currently have, so sort of like shame. Then you're intentionally choosing thoughts or intentionally choosing emotions and thought pairs to help you feel differently in your life. And I know that this sounds very simple. It is simple, but simple doesn't always mean easy. So, for instance, getting curious about how you actually feel and what the thoughts are is it is big work. It takes, I mean, it can be, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm always telling myself like, um, I never get anything done, or I always mess things up. Like that could come up really easily, or it could be like a long series, a long story you have about yourself that's been going on since childhood. And so teasing that out, becoming aware of it is simple work on the surface, but it can be really deep and profound work. And it takes people from feeling, again, clients that I work with for 6 months go from feeling things like anxious most of the time, or not confident, or like imposters, or like I'm never measuring up, to feeling peaceful, content, unflappable, confident, accomplished, smart, all those kinds of things, simply because we look at the thoughts that they have, we help them process emotions, and we move forward from that space. So that's what I do with clients, and that's how I work with clients. And so, as I said before, I work with clients one-on-one for 6 months. And I also have a group starting. And these are kind of two, group coaching and one-on-one coaching are both amazing in different ways, right? So one-on-one coaching is really powerful, particularly if people want to change lots of different things in their life, right? They want a big overhaul and they want kind of really intensive one-on-one work. Group coaching is really powerful because you get to do that same work, but you get to do it in a community. So not only are you learning from yourself, but you're learning from everyone else. And I know that when I'm in group coaching spaces, when I watch someone else get coached, oftentimes I'll have these aha moments of like, oh my gosh, I have that thought, but I couldn't tease it out of my own brain, or it felt so much like a truth that I didn't even remember to say it. So being in group coaching is just super powerful, from not only the support you get from community and other people doing the same work that you're doing, but from actually getting to see your brain kind of transposed onto other people. So those are the two ways that I work with folks, one-on-one and in group settings. And again, we do the work that I've been talking about, right? So we start to understand, what are you feeling day to day right now? How do you want to feel? So if you're feeling overwhelmed and disorganized and you want to feel more organized, you want to feel peaceful and content or accomplished, or whatever the feeling is that you're chasing, successful, we look at what thoughts are happening in your brain that are causing how you feel right now. We help you process the emotions. We work to process the emotions that are coming up for you, giving you those skills. Because again, most of us just don't have them. We were never gifted them. We weren't taught them in school. And so we go on buffering from our emotions, procrastinating, avoiding them, reacting to them, etc. You have your own preferred method. We all do. I do too. I personally I had lots of them, right? So I shopped, I took fancy trips. It was a big partier because that was a fun thing to do, and it seemed really socially acceptable to just go home and have a couple glasses of wine every night. Those are the main ones, I guess. I did. I shopped and bought a lot of things. And now I don't do that, right? I still buy things, obviously, but I'm not buying things from a place of trying to avoid emotions. So I teach you how to feel your emotions, and then work on bolstering your own self-concept, your own beliefs in yourself, to create the feelings that you want to feel day to day. And it's using mindfulness tools, so nervous system regulation, working with your body, using the tools of mindset, so understanding what's happening in your brain, getting really curious. The main tools that I rely on are awareness, which is so powerful and so underrated. So just awareness of what's happening in your brain and body right now. acceptance of exactly where you are right now. So acceptance of what you're feeling. It's okay to feel nervous. It's safe to feel nervous. It's okay that I'm feeling this way. It doesn't mean something bad about me. And then curiosity. How do I want to feel? Or why do I think I'm feeling this way? Or why does this feel hard? Or why am I getting stucky in stick? Why am I getting stuck in this space? Why does it feel sticky? And then moving kind of slowly and then fast towards where you want to be and how you want to feel in your life. And it is such a game changer. This is kind of the practices of things like meditation or yoga asana practice or qigong. So using those, using the kind of wisdom from those and implementing them in a different place, in a different space, which is the more talking coaching space. I also do some guided meditation and breathing with folks, which is pretty fun. So if you're interested in learning more about this and doing this work that we talked about today, in kind of teasing out exactly what's happening in your brain, what's happening in your body, there are links in my bio to either schedule a consultation for one-to-one coaching or to join my group coaching list, which would actually be a consultation as well. So we would talk on the phone about that. A consultation is a complimentary hour where we just get to talk about what's coming up for you. So what's coming up in your life? Why do you think it's coming up in your life? Why do you think you feel the way you feel? And then what would the path look like to how you want to feel? Thank you so much for those who stayed around. And I hope you got something valuable out of this. You might drop it in the chat if you want to. How was it helpful? What did you get out of it? Okay, I see like I have so much more insight on what I'm feeling. It feels safe to feel an emotion. That feels really powerful. Okay, a question. So the group coaching is probably going to start at the very beginning of August is when we'll get the group going. And it's going to be 10 people. So there will be a group of 10 people. We'll keep it small. We meet weekly. I meet weekly with all of my folks so that we can kind of we touch base, we get through there. And with 10 people, there's enough coaching space that people are always going to have the opportunity to get coached if they do want to be coached. Yeah, and there is a learning component. Yeah, so there's like a teaching learning component of the of group coaching as well. Yep, that's always in there. Okay. Again, I'm Cecilia. I'm a life coach. If you found this helpful, get in touch with me. If you'd like to work together, follow along for more of this kind of information. And again, thank you so much for your time. I hope that it was valuable, and I will see you around. I have to figure out how to turn it off.